Sonic X episode 54. Why did they start out the episode by repeating the ending of the last episode? We already know this, and no other continuity does this. Chris cheers up pretty quick though, because all he really cares about is reuniting with his friends. Chris lampshades that none of the Sonic characters changed a bit. Yeah, seriously. Sonic then passes out for no reason. I guess this is related to the mystery with him being magically slower. Or maybe I'm overthinking it because it's a fantasy series where anything can happen, and it's just that he's been tired, but if Sonic could get tired from stuff he does normally, how is this so rare? I mean, he can run at the speed of sound, and he runs such a great distance without getting tired. So it's weird for him to get tired now. Knuckles says he's still got to recover from that earlier battle. It's refreshing to see Sonic vulnerable for once. He's put to bed by Vanilla. And Cosmo says the Metarex wants to unify all the planets under their rule. That's not generic. She says they've already extinguished planets by taking their power to nurture life. How do they expect to rule planets after killing them? That's dumb! It's like the writer couldn't decide whether to make the Metarex about destroying or ruling. Both of the most generic things ever for villains, and went with both. Don't bother establishing that they want to unify them under their rule then, because you can't destroy and conquer. They feel like the most inexplicable villains ever. Why would they want to do this to those planets? Cosmo cries because her own family's already been destroyed. And Amy lampshades that Knuckles was a jerk who inexplicably accused her of being with the Metarex she looks nothing like. We're told that it's been 6 months on Mobius, so a month equals a year. How? I refuse to believe time can pass at different rates to this extent on the two worlds. Again, Chris has to have traveled through time as well as space, like traveled to the past. Sonic's already left, being too antisocial to even let his friends see him wake up first, and he runs to the top of a mountain. Vanilla gives Chris clothes like his old ones because she conveniently already had clothes in his size. And at least they're lampshading that Sonic was being an idiot by sending away the emeralds. And Sonic even says that it seemed like a good idea at the time and looks embarrassed. Our time is wasted with reused footage to recap to us for no reason. Even the character in the story has more logic than the previous episode, because Sonic says he thought it'd be a cinch when he was Super. And it should have been! So far the plot has gone nowhere. Nothing's happened except Sonic passing out and Chris getting new clothes. It's totally inexcusable that his clothes look identical to the old ones. When he's lucky, Vanilla even had clothes his size. Why is it so scary to just give him a new clothes? Tails shows off his new plane and wonders what power source they can get. Chris gets an idea, and Knuckles panics because the hero stole the Master Emerald for the interstellar plane. Why wasn't Knuckles guarding the emerald when it got stolen? And why is Knuckles angry about this? As long as it's with people he trusts, he shouldn't care. I mean, it's not like they're evil. Why would he think that they would use it for evil? I'm so glad Cream called him out. I was satisfied that Amy threatened him with a hammer, and even Cream grabbed him. That's out of character. But it only happened because Knuckles was out of character. Sure, he's overprotective of his emerald, but as long as he's still with it, he shouldn't care if his friends use it because he's still technically guarding it. What an asshole. Though they should have asked, of course. Chris shows a good chemistry with Tails as they're both equally excited about engineering. All this does to make Tails redundant. He's just replacing Tails even more. Already he stole Tails' role as the cute sidekick, and his personality is like, he's an XP of him as it is. Chris being useful as an engineer doesn't matter at all because Tails could have done all that stuff anyways. Cream asks Cosmo to carry those bags downhill, and she's totally weak and tumbles down the hill with them somehow. It's very dumb. She's the same size as them, so she shouldn't be this much of a wuss when she's strong enough to walk just fine. What a strong female character. Another Metarex crashes, and the robot wants to destroy the enemy spacecraft. Sonic jumps at it, and Knuckles sends it into the ground. It slices a tree, getting up way too fast to be believable, and threatens to destroy them. Amy tells her friends that Tails needs Knuckles to activate the Master Emerald to power up their new ship. I guess because he's the Guardian, so only he has the right connection with it. Knuckles and Sonic go into the tree, and Knuckles thinks he finally stopped him, but he's wrong, so it's forced that the robot waited so long before firing missiles just to prove Knuckles wrong. It was pretty tense that Tails almost got blasted out of the sky by the missile because there was a close-up on his face, and we already got super dark with planets being destroyed. But fortunately Sonic saves him, and Knuckles runs around the robot and sends it underground. Isn't that supposed to be what Sonic can do? He doesn't have super speed. Of course, Knuckles' contribution was worthless, and Cosmo falls over on her back because of the backpack she's wearing. She really doesn't work as a comedy character, so I'm confused as hell that they're trying to use her as one in the first place. But they're probably doing it to make her not boring, giving her at least some life instead of always taking her seriously when she's already annoying me with her angsting. Vanilla leniently agrees to let Cream come on the spaceship with the others for no reason. That's really unrealistic. Doesn't she love her? It wouldn't be so baffling if Vanilla said she was coming with her, but I guess they didn't want to pay her actress for more episodes than they had to. That has to be it, because that's the only reason there is. The robot fires missiles, and Sonic spin dashes them down. And it's very obvious padding how long it's taking for the plane to power up. That length of time has nothing but dead space. Tails locks onto the Metarex and fires the power cannon that fires Sonic in spin dash form. At least it's justified that he sliced through and beat it in one hit this time, since he was literally fired out of a cannon. He didn't immediately have the momentum to spin dash through a giant robot from a standstill. Sonic starts falling out of the sky, and I'm expected to believe that Chris grabbing his hand would make Sonic perfectly fine from this, instead of Sonic falling and Chris injuring both of them from the sheer force of his fall. That's dumb. We could have had Tails fire an anti-gravity beam at Sonic to catch him. Better yet, just have Tails fire a regular laser like I expected, instead of firing Sonic, because he has to be the one who beats the robot because he's the main character. Even though firing Sonic himself just brings up the question of how Sonic doesn't get hurt from the fall and from being fired into metal. Sonic wonders what something on his head is as he stares at his palm, and Deco says Sonic discovered the electronic bug that Eggman planted on him when he was asleep. Well, it is logical that Eggman did something with Sonic when he was asleep, but of all the different things he could have done, a bug? That's it? Also, Deco is the gold robot, and Boko is the gray robot. It took forever for me to finally realize that, because their designs suck and their names don't mean anything. I always felt like Boko was the gold robot. Maybe it's because of the B at the start of his name, and I associate it with yellow. At least they're explaining properly why Eggman knew where the heroes were going, and why he knew when they left. But wait, how did Sonic take so long to discover the bug? If it was on his head, how did it not fall off way earlier if it was able to fall into his hand? Remember when he passed out? And all the spinning he did in his spin dash? Somehow the bug stayed on through all of that until now. Well, that was barely a plot. Sonic beats a robot and they leave for space. The end. It's not a good show when the entire plot of the average 20-minute long episode can be summed up in a few 3-second clips. Just because it's Sonic doesn't mean having plots that basic is good, and this is the perfect proof for that. At least I can compliment that the fight scenes with the Metarex last a decent amount of time. But they still seem to have the problem where all the attacks against them feel worthless until the last one, which has to be by Sonic spin dashing at it. It would make more sense if it was an actual laser from the plane hitting it, because now I'm wondering why he survived his fall afterwards. I think all that happened this episode was that they had a Metarex fight, and used the Master Emerald to power a plane to escape the planet because Sega Japan hates the concept of Mobius so much that it refuses to do any actual development on it, because they're jealous that the American continuities are so popular and well loved. I always got the feeling they were gritting their teeth and bearing us seeing Sonic on his homeworld instead of Earth, and we were lucky we even got to see them there at all, because they're not on Mobius in most of the games. I don't know why Sega Japan is so in love with the idea of the Sonic characters being on a planet where there's nothing but humans, that they'll refuse to show anything different, especially since everyone in the fanbase always hated that idea anyways, especially in 06. It came out of nowhere in the adventure games. We were lucky that in Forces they finally humored us and ditched that. Mobius is so much better for escapism with its magical universe and cartoon characters. But no, let's immediately go to a void of nothingness to go fight the Metarex instead of making Mobius unique. When we spent literally the whole show waiting with bated breath to see how X-Mobius would be like. Keeping the world mysterious isn't appealing, it's frustrating. It's not an appeal factor to have nothingness, to keep you wanting more and never giving you what you need. Mysterious is just a sugar-coated way of saying underdeveloped or confusing, or even flat out, there's a plot hole here but we're too lazy to fill it. That's the definition of bad writing. No other Mobius is this underdeveloped. So it feels like there's no excuse for being that way because RJ, Fleetway, and even AOSCH and Underground had way more charming versions of Mobius than this. And the reason they're more likable is because we know more about them, so we're actually attached because they feel lived in and real. So their mere existence proved that world building just makes a Mobius better. It can't make it worse. They'd have nothing to lose by doing this. If we're going to have 15 minutes of padding every episode because the plot's too basic, why can't that padding at least be world building at the same time? Having Mobius underdeveloped and shunned is just embarrassing to the show because every other continuity with Mobius has already beaten it out because of this. This underwhelming lack of world building was not what was built up to. Absence of something is not something. At this point, we might as well have never seen X-Mobius because we gained nothing by seeing it. That one shot of small animals fleeing a city just like Station Square is all we got, and all that tells us is it's just Earth but with animal people. That's the reboot! That's not imaginative at all! And of course I know that it wasn't called Mobius, but I don't fucking care! Complaining about that is just being pedantic, especially because even the European Sonic the Comic used the word Mobius. So it's not just the American canon. It's not just America and Canada. It's part of the canon of every country that's not Japan, which is the vast majority of the planet. So what makes more sense? Using a word that most of the planet used for their sake for 25 years, or shunning it to humor one country? Besides, didn't Yuji Naka say the word Mobius at one point? Either way, Mobius is still a better name than Sonic's world. The show's so lazy that it doesn't even bother to tell us the name of the planet. That's how underdeveloped it is. So you have no proof that it's not called Mobius. So that's what I'm calling it. The reason I say Mobius, despite having no childhood experience with the American canon, is that since the beginning of Sonic, we've always had Mobius as the only term for Sonic's world, and we've never been given a better alternative. So that's what I'm calling it. Either way, it's a world where Mobians live. So it's functionally the same idea as Mobius anyways. And also we don't have a better alternative to the name Mobians. So it's going to be held up to the same standard by everybody. And every other continuity has done that idea better because it actually tried. In fact, I bet Sonic Boom is a more interesting Mobius than this. Again, I love the Metarex as a concept, even if I hate their ridiculously grim planet destruction bullshit. Destruction is one of the two most generic major villain goals along with conquering, and somehow I'm expected to believe they do both at once. While I like how engaging this arc is, I hate that the hero just had to go to space to fight them so they wouldn't be threatening Mobius by going to them. That's the downside to them fighting aliens from outer space. So much for an interesting setting. Now it's just gonna be on that one spaceship the whole time like it's a bottle episode. Either that or they'll go visit different planets that just happen to have the same exact breathable atmosphere as Mobius anyways, just to justify the heroes getting to have plots on them. And at that point, why did they have to make the Metarex want to destroy the planet to force them to go to other planets to fight the Metarex to keep Mobius safe? Why couldn't they just not have them want to destroy the planet and have them fight them on Mobius?